Hi, I'm Alan Matthews from the Physics Cluster on the Westville campus in the School of Chemistry and Physics at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. With our move to online teaching, a central question is, how are we going to do online assessment? I'm not an expert in online pedagogy, but I volunteered to help and the college asked me to look into the matter, so I did some research. I start with my conclusion. To do online assessment, I will use the Moodle quiz, the Moodle assignment, both for individuals and for groups, and possibly the Zoom interview. Other things could be assessed. In fact, anything a student does can be assessed, such as Moodle forum posts and glossary and wiki entries, but I think we should keep it simple and leave these other things out. As time goes on, we will learn by doing, by experience, and by trying things out to see what works. The context of online assessment is online teaching. During my research, I was drawn into the bigger picture of online teaching in general, in other words, online pedagogy, which from Greek means guiding the student, and gathered advice from experts such as Tony Bates and our own UKZN expert Craig Blurt through his online course. As Natalie B. Millman has written, we are not really doing online teaching because that involves redesigning our courses, which can take a year to do. Rather, we are doing emergency remote teaching because we have suddenly had to evacuate our campuses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, we must do what we can with what we have and keep it simple. Nevertheless, there are many principles that the experts propose. While these are not hard and fast rules to limit innovation, they are based on research and experience and constitute sound advice. First, we can't simply transfer classroom teaching online. As Craig Blurt says, the cut and paste approach doesn't work. That is, cutting and pasting classroom practice to the online environment. And this applies to assessment as it does to all aspects of teaching. It will not be possible to do online everything we do in the classroom, notably invigilation of tests and exams to prevent students communicating with the outside world and working in the laboratory. Although some things will not be possible, on the other hand, the online world opens up new avenues that in their turn are not possible in the classroom, such as automatic marking with immediate feedback to students. Some of the advice for teaching includes producing short videos, a limited number of Zoom-style meetings, setting a sequence of activities, and continual interaction between teacher and students with each other. Here is my plan for my physics major stream second year class, in which for a typical week I have scheduled 2 Zoom meetings within the 5 periods allocated in the UKZN timetable and a double period session reserved for a timed quiz if set for that week. In parallel, in their own time, students work on assignments both as individuals and in groups and on practice quizzes. But, as I have said, there are no hard and fast rules, and as we go along we may find that more Zoom sessions and longer videos work well, or that practice quizzes or group assignments don't work so well. A central plank of online pedagogy is to promote active rather than passive learning, which means that students not only passively absorb information by watching videos and reading notes, but contribute back to the course through creative activity. Following this advice, a course should be structured as a sequence of activities. And one way to do this is to use formative assessment. This is assessment to improve learning, to form the student, as opposed to summative assessment, which is to evaluate or rate learning, to sum up the student. Formative assessment takes place during the course with feedback to students so that they can improve. Examples of formative activities are practice quizzes and practice assignments. A formative assessment is usually not for marks, but on the other hand, an assessment for marks can be formative if it serves the purpose of improving learning. Although practice quizzes and assignments are not for marks, they can be connected to summative assessment by giving a few marks for attempting or completing them, or for making their completion a prerequisite to be allowed to take a summative assessment. Online pedagogy advocates integrating assessment with learning, rather than assessment being something that happens after the course, as something apart from the course. Here is a schematic of integration, in which students progress through a sequence of study alternating with a formative assessment, in this case as a practice quiz that they attempt several times. This should help them to improve until at the end they take their summative assessment, a quiz for marks. In parallel, they can also work on both formative and summative assignments. The Moodle assignment activity allows a student to submit photos of handwritten work, so they can write a mathematical derivation or diagram on paper, photograph it with their cell phone, and upload the photo. Or they can type text and maths and include diagrams, tables, and graphs in the text box or in an uploaded file. They can also upload other media such as a PowerPoint presentation, a video, or code. These are marked by hand by the teacher in the traditional classroom way and returned with comments via Moodle. A big question is how to reduce cheating. The bad news is this: it's not possible. The student is at a remote, unsupervised location, so cannot be watched. But we can still try. One approach is, if you can't beat them, don't try. Let them cheat, as Matt Farrell says. Accept that assessments will be open notes, open book, open internet, and open WhatsApp, and set questions accordingly. For example, try to make questions ungoogleable. Remote invigilation, or proctoring as it is called in the USA, uses an app that monitors the student with a microphone and one or even two cameras, one in front and one behind, freezes their screen and blocks their internet access, and uses artificial intelligence for facial recognition and keystroke recognition. However, students can still find a way around this, and in any case, such apps are not available in Moodle and are not offered by UKZN. Measures that we do have available are timing and randomization in the Moodle quiz and the Zoom interview. Moodle provides some practical ways to discourage cheating in a quiz. First, a timed quiz can be set in Moodle to be completed in a specified duration, for example 40 minutes, and in most cases I would set a quiz to last anywhere from 20 minutes to a double period quiz of 100 minutes. Second, Moodle allows a random selection of questions from a question bank using categories, subcategories, and tags or keywords to select questions within various topics and styles. Third, Moodle has a shuffle feature that randomly changes the order of questions. Moodle also has sequential navigation of questions, such that a student cannot go back to a previous question, but in my opinion, that is unfair. Finally, Moodle offers the so-called calculated question that generates random input values for a calculation. I conclude with the ideas of the portfolio and the Zoom interview. A portfolio is a collection of a student's work, selected and accumulated over time, which could be, for example, their quizzes and assignments. A Zoom interview, conducted by 2 or more examiners, could be used to verify the portfolio. The student could give a presentation on all or some of the portfolio, followed by questions from the examiners about the presentation, about work in the portfolio, and about the general field. The student could be asked to answer questions and solve problems on a whiteboard. This would check that the portfolio is indeed the student's own work and that the student understands the content and methods in the portfolio as well as in the broader subject. If the Zoom interview is there to verify the portfolio, then it serves as the capstone assessment. It could even serve in its own right as the assessment, in which case the portfolio of quizzes and assignments become background material for the Zoom interview, and therefore do not need to be invigilated. In this case, the Zoom interview becomes the summative assessment.